We have here the Queen of Wands, and I love this deck because of the imagery, the animals. So we have here the Queen of Wands. Look at her eyes. She is stone cold. And you know the traditional Rider-Waite depiction of the Queen of Wands, she's got the sunflower and the black cat. She's very loving, very she's very like spontaneous, she's very attractive, she's very like bold. In this context, it's almost like the Ice Queen, okay? It's almost somebody who's like, I'm not joking around. It's somebody who can stare at you and they put you in your place, okay? So I feel like your energy is very pure and raw and domineering, but not in a bad way, commanding attention, as well as bold and fierce, okay? So this is the way that you're coming across for this month, and somebody is seeing this, seeing you for the very first time, and seeing this situation, you embodying your power. And they're seeing this because something has been woken up in them, okay? Going back to the other message, you know, I was broken and now I'm fixed. I feel that message pertains to, for many of you, there was a situation here that had you in a bind, okay? You didn't know how to go forward or backward. Two of Swords, indecisiveness. Look at that piece of gunk that's tying the swords together. It's like one decision rests upon another decision. The swords are about decisions, or about mental processes, or about communication. There might have been a standstill when it comes to communication. There might have been emotional blockages between you and another person. There might have been a stalemate, okay? There might have been like a icky, sticky, difficult situation. And what it does is that it creates a lot of binds, a lot of misgivings. I'm hearing a lot of like, you know, the swords are sharp, right? And those are ribbons, that bundle of ribbon keeping it in place. The swords can easily cut through these ribbons. But I feel like it's a situation where the problem was very, very minuscule. It was very small, but it was very important. And because it's so important, you felt like you might not have had all the information. You felt like one decision rests upon another decision. And so you felt like you couldn't act. You felt like you didn't have all the knowledge. You felt like you didn't have all the information. You felt like it was better left alone than, you know, sever the ties, okay? So I feel like you were dealing with somebody that you might have had a very strong emotional connection to, and you might have wanted things a certain way. And I do feel there is an element of two people butting heads, okay? Stubbornness, ego, pride. And I feel like it's coming out from both sides. And then I also feel like there was, if this is like a connection, it might not have been a very healthy or a very good connection to be in. And I'm sensing this is the month, November, where you break free. Seven of Swords, okay? That big sword coming through to splice through all the little swords, all the thoughts, all the mental processes, all the little pieces and scraps of information that at the end of the day, they don't really matter. All these small swords don't really matter comparatively, because some big news is coming into the picture to clear up that fog of confusion. Okay, looking at a situation through a pair of new eyes, being able to see it exactly for what it is, being able to understand that these things don't really matter. These things are on the periphery. They don't have any bearing on the decisions that I need to make right now. They're minuscule compared to this other big decision that I have to make. And a lot of the times too, we come into, you know, massive like awakening, realization, mainly because we see things in context, right? We think about, for example, And you guys are very big picture oriented, okay? You like to see the whole rather than all the interrelated parts. And people might blame you guys for not being very detailed, being a little bit careless, being a little bit like, not dotting your I's and crossing your T's, and you might like just rush through to get something done and out of your way. And you're not very careful with the little details. And I feel like that's generally true for a lot of Sagittarius people. And you are aware of this about yourself too. The tendency to rush things and the tendency towards carelessness. And I feel like, the part of about grown up, you have actively tried to mitigate your weaknesses, okay? You have tried to be a little bit more patient. You have tried to cross your T's and dot your I's. You have tried to take that extra few seconds to look over your work and to review everything that you're doing. But what I'm seeing here is a situation where you're starting to see things in context. So for example, this is just a very, very minor example, okay? You're going through your day and you're thinking like, what am I going to eat for lunch? I'm hungry. What am I going to eat for lunch? And then by the time dinner rolls around, you're just like, what am I going to eat for dinner? These are very, very small decisions, right? And then the next day you're at work and, you've got like a fire to put out over here. Somebody over here needs you. And so you're going through your day, battling fires, putting out fires, setting things right, helping people, troubleshooting. And then before you know it, lunchtime comes and goes. And then, 5 o'clock rolls around. It's the end of the business day. And you're just like, wow, that was a very productive day. It's because you're making these bigger, more important decisions. And you're not mulling over the little side, segue, peripheral things that in the greater scheme of things don't really matter. And that's what I mean by a pair of new eyes, okay? Looking at a situation and being able to prioritize, being able to toss out the decisions, the thoughts, the things that don't really matter. I'm seeing for many of you, you're seeing people and you're Sagittarius people are very open-minded, but I feel like in some ways you have a fixed opinion about a person, a situation, a thing, and you have stuck to that fixed opinion. And now I feel like you're assessing or looking at a situation and in its entirety, you're just like, I thought this person was this way, but now they've proven themselves to be this way. And I like what I see. So I'm going to, trash the preconceived notions or my previous ideas or my previous thoughts of this person. And I'm going to treat them as this new person that has emerged. Okay. So you're very much about allowing others to reinvent themselves. You're very much about giving people second chances. You're very much about, I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Okay. So there's definitely a lot of like changing of minds, changing of hearts, for the better, I feel. Being definitely more flexible, more open-minded. And I feel like not only is this, change in your own awareness, it's helping you start to see a lot more optimism in a person, in a situation, okay? So I feel like it's a very, very much needed good change that's coming into the picture for many of you. And then I'm also seeing as well, there is a person here that you're kind of like waving goodbye to. Okay, there is a situation. Emotionally, it was very, very messy. Okay, emotionally, you were very invested in it. You were butting heads with the other person. We have the moon in the back, which is, sheer emotion. And you had an emotional response every time this person deals with you. They know how to trigger you. They do a lot of things that, if anybody else did it, it would be fine. For example, leaving the toilet seat up. For example, not washing their dishes after they used a dish. Anybody else can do it, and it wouldn't irk you, okay? It wouldn't like cause a visceral reaction within you. But for whatever reason, when this person does it, it triggers something within you. And so I feel like there is a very complex emotional situation that I feel like you're easily triggered with this person. And you don't understand yourself why you're triggered, and you don't understand why it's becoming such a problem. I feel like there's going to be a lot of clarity coming into the month of November, where you're going to start to kind of like take a step back, re-examine the situation, loosen the grip on this situation will allow it to kind of like naturally fall out. You know, if we unravel that bundle of ribbon, the two swords will loosen up and they will naturally fall out. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is there's a person that you've been dealing with, and I feel almost like, once again, I was broken and now I'm fixed. Okay, this person has been through their fair share of tribulations in life. They have not had an easy, upbringing. They've had to scramble. They've had to deal with, the worst things that a child have had to deal with. Okay, like abandonment issues, living in a place of lack. Okay, lack of food, lack of shelter, lack of stability, lack of security. So this was somebody who has had like an emotional roller coaster of a childhood. This is somebody who has, had it all and then had it taken away. So they've dealt with a lot of emotional ups and downs, a lot of financial ups and downs in their life. And they're constantly used to, hoarding, for example, mainly because they have dealt with scarcity, and scarcity triggers anxiety in them. So when they have things, they can tend to be, like a little bit more on the selfish end, hoarding things, hogging things for themselves. And I feel like you've never understood this person. You've never been able to, explain their behavior, and you've never been able to sympathize. And I feel like there's a major breakthrough when it comes to understanding for this month. And I don't know if like you're put in a situation where you're starting to see things from their perspective. But I feel like you're looking at this situation in a brand new light. You're less critical. You're more receptive to what they have to say. You're easing up your energy, and you're definitely, you're able to see them in a different light, okay, through a different lens, through a different framework, to be able to completely understand and unravel whatever this person is. Like, they might have been an enigma to you. You might have a lot of trouble understanding them. You're starting to unravel and you're starting to understand. So there is huge awakening, huge awareness coming into the picture. The other word, or the other phrase actually that came out when I was shuffling, is boiling a frog. Okay, and that's an analogy. So let me just give you the context of the story, okay? So it's a situation where you want to cook a frog, right? Or you want to, I'm just going to explain it in the most straightforward way that I can. You put the frog in the pot, right? And the water in that pot is like room temperature. And the frog stays there. If you threw the frog in and it's boiling temperature, the frog is going to notice and it's going to hop out. So you started with room temperature, and then you put the pot over a fire, and then slowly the water, rises in temperature. And then before you know it, the pot boils over and the frog is cooked. And so basically what it means is it's a situation where when there are very, very small, minute changes that are implemented or that are added on over a long period of time, we don't notice these changes. we see the situation as bearable. So we stay in it and we stick around, mainly because, we think like, oh, the changes aren't that bad. They're very gradual. They're very small, minute changes over large periods of time. It's not as bad as like changes happening in succession, one after another in a very short period of time. That can feel very destabilizing. But if it's stretched out, then we barely feel it. So I feel like there's a situation here where there are a lot of changes happening in your environment, okay? And these changes are signaling to you some type of a shakeup, some type of a situation where you're going to have to decide, are you okay with this kind of like emotional roller coaster, fluctuations, changes in priority, changes in the dynamics, day in and day out? Okay, because I feel like the changes are very, very jarring, are very apparent in the month of November. By the way, in November, the whole month of November is a Mercury retrograde period. Okay, so that starts on, I believe, the very last day of October, October 31st on Halloween. And it's going to continue through the majority of the November timeframe. And Mercury retrograde periods for you guys is all of these small, tiny, minor, little changes that have been happening to you from the beginning of this year until now have been very small, stretched out over long periods of time. But for this month, everything is reduced within 1 month, where you have like fluctuations, unpredictability. Everything is just, one after another. I feel like compressed into, a very short month of November. And so you're kind of like, this is being brought to your attention because it's telling you, look at it, before it was small and minor and you were okay with it. But now the same thing has happened and it's like basically the same thing, but you're noticing it now only because the time, the delay within the change is so short. Are you still okay with this? Are you still willing to put up with this? Why was it acceptable before, but not acceptable now? Mercury retrograde periods are times where things that we have swept under the rug kind of like come to the surface. Problems that we thought weren't that big, weren't that problematic, weren't deal breakers, become deal breakers in Mercury retrograde periods because it's forcing us, and I feel greatly with this spread, examining your values. Okay, we have here the Six of Pentacles, weighing out the pros and cons, literally weighing out. Is it worth it? Is it efficient? Is it worthwhile? Is it a deal breaker? Is it balanced? Is it reciprocal? And is it fair? So I feel like all of these are key words regarding a situation that will be coming into the picture. And we have, interestingly enough, the Six of Swords. This is kind of like the freeing yourself, okay? Cutting off the ribbons. The Six of Swords is sailing away from a troublesome situation, okay? You're saying goodbye to this stalemate, this conflict. Queen of Cups, this is like waving away, waving goodbye, sailing off, pushing yourself into the water, trying to experience something else and getting out of this stalemate. And you're happily doing it, mainly because you want to move on to something that is a lot more balanced, a lot more reciprocal, a lot more worthwhile. And I feel like, once again, it's a situation where we start to see the solutions to all these problems. We start to see what is really important to us. We start to see kind of like that boiling the frog. We start to see a situation where something might have, it's almost like the bath water has gone cold, or, we're seeing things through a new pair of eyes. And so it's not all fun and games anymore, or it's not all glamorous and novel anymore. We're looking for something a lot more stable, a lot more serious, a lot more pragmatic, and a lot more long lasting. And on either side of this, we have here Six of Pentacles, reciprocity, okay? I take this bundle, you take that bundle, and everything is fair. And on either side of that, we have you, the Queen of Wands, and possibly, you know, whoever you're dealing with, the King of Wands. This is a match. This is a perfect, supreme match. And what we see here, right in the middle, is, you know, that balance, the give and take, the situation where somebody is no longer taking you for granted, where somebody is like definitely made aware that I need to step up, that the Sagittarius has really, you know, come into their own. The Sagittarius has proven themselves. The Sagittarius is not playing anymore. The Sagittarius is making demands now. And so I feel almost like, you know, compromise, apology, not taking a situation for granted, coming into terms that, you know, it takes two to tangle, okay? It's not just about what you said the other day that upset me. It's more about, hey, we both contributed to the situation. Let's just focus on the solution for right now. So I definitely see a recalibrating, a rebalancing, and I almost want to say like viewing a situation for what it really is, okay, for like its importance in your life. And like vice versa, I do sense that somebody is definitely very, very aware of the impact that you have made, okay? In the past, they might not have understood you, and I feel like specifically this is a romantic partner. In the past, they might have underestimated you. They might have not have seen you for your sharp eyes, your ability to, you know, problem solve, your ability to be very decisive. They might not have seen these things about you. And for the very first time, their eyes are being made wide open, where they're starting to see how meticulous you are. And they're starting to see that maybe they're the sloppy one in the relationship. Maybe they're the ones that have not been pulling their weight. Maybe their crown is on crooked. So in the meantime, you know, they might have been judging you. They might have been underestimating you. They might have been looking at you and not seeing how regal you are. And now they're being made aware that, you know, I was looking at this situation from a wrong perspective. I was looking at this situation in the wrong way, through a wrong lens.